was just a little boy, I asked my mother, what will I be? Oh, will I be happy? Will I be rich? And this is what she said to me. She said, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Future's not ours to see. No, no, no. Well, when I grew up and fell in love, I asked my baby what lies ahead. Oh, will there be sunshine day after day? And this is what my baby said. Sing it! She said, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. No, no, no. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. David Alpay. Now I have children of my own. They ask their mother, what will I be? They say, will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Will I
get to go to the camp in Peachtree City?
I tell them tenderly, que sera, sera. Whatever will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. Oh. Whatever will be, will be. Oh, whatever will be, will be. Oh.
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend a night in the box.
Gonna spend a night in the box. Welcome one, welcome all to the Sunday edition of the Fromville Hour. And yes, I 100% agree. Super awesome to see David Alpay and our good friend Scott McCord shredding it up there on that stage. Love that rendition of the From intro song. I think it should be the new intro for the show myself personally. But the Pixies are okay too. I'm not gonna lie. But welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to see each and every one of you. Yes, those definitely have to be some of the chillest actors. I mean, just seeing from some of their interviews and some of their off-camera stuff, I mean, yeah, they seem to be super cool, super down to earth, and definitely some of the chillest actors indeed. Definitely two of my favorite performers on the entirety of From. I like Boyd a lot as well. Harold Perrineau was just phenomenal. But something about the performances of David Alpay as Jade and Scott McCord as Victor, it's those two performances are just really special.
I mean, they really are, right? And it's hard because everybody is good. Okay. In this show, just about every single actor is a really good actor. Even the characters that you dislike, you cannot negate that they're great actors. You know, like Jim, he's a great actor. You may dislike his character, but he's a great actor. But no, I ride for Boyd. It has to be Boyd. I mean, he's doing everything in the town. I feel like to me, he's always going to be the main character, and he's my favorite actor.
Yeah. I mean, you can't take anything away from Harold Perrineau. He is the backbone of the show. He's the main draw of the show. Definitely the captain of the ship. You can't take anything away from him. Without him, From just would not be the same. He really sets the tone for the rest of the actors to follow, and he sets a very high bar for sure. Yeah, the whole cast, though, like you said, the whole cast is just phenomenal. Really, really, really good ensemble cast that we love seeing. But yes, as Palmer Shelby points out, trailer now, please. Yes, I mean, we are getting closer and closer to 2026. And the end of the year is almost here, folks. And if From season 4 is set to hit our screens at the beginning of 2026, which seems to be what they're aiming for, yeah, they need to start getting out some trailers, and they need to start getting them out stat. I feel like this weekend would have been the best weekend for them to get out a trailer, because New York Comic Con was here, one of the biggest Comic Cons in the entire country. You got New York Comic Con here on the East Coast, and you have San Diego Comic Con on the West Coast. Those are the two biggest Comic Con events. And since Comic Cons these days are kind of more catered to TV shows and movies than they are actual comic books, you know, you see tons of shows and movies premiering their trailers at these Comic Cons. Like New York, just over the weekend, premiered the A Night of the Seven Kingdoms trailer. We finally got our first look at the upcoming new Game of Thrones spinoff. And of course, we also got an all-new trailer, a full trailer for Pluribus. Finally, no more of those little 10, 20-second snippets. We got a full over 1 minute trailer for Pluribus over the weekend as well. So this weekend would have been the perfect time for them to drop a trailer. There were so many trailers that were being dropped. Although I suppose an argument could be made that, you know, they want to wait a little bit so theirs doesn't get lost in the shuffle with all these other trailers. So I can understand that argument too. But a lot of stuff got released this weekend, and it would have been nice to see at least a little something from because we got to get a teaser, and we need a teaser soon.
It reminds me of when you said maybe just a little teaser would be fine. We are just so desperate to know what, what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And there was a couple of things that, they're putting out there that maybe potentially have changed. I did see the chat was talking about them regarding the talismans. So we're getting a little here and there and on their Twitter, right? On their X account. But yeah, a little teaser would be nice.
It really would be. I mean, it would be. We've said this in the past, but I think the way they did season 3 was perfect. Where, we were a good 4 to 5 months out from the show actually getting here, at least 4 months or so out from the show actually getting here. And we got that little 30-second teaser trailer. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough. It was the perfect scene that they chose to get the wheels spinning again and to get everybody talking about theories. That quick little snippet of Boyd screaming in the barn and us wondering who exactly is in the barn with him getting killed or tortured. It was the perfect scene to release, and it really, really just, it was a shot of adrenaline in the arm of the entire From fandom. And that lasted a while. And then a couple months later, boom, we got the full 2-minute trailer. And then the show arrived about a month or two after that. So that was a good marketing strategy. They kind of got in early, and they started really kind of showing people new content and giving us a little taste as to what season 3 was going to be looking like. But as we get closer and closer to 2025 ending, we still have nothing. And that's a little bit worrisome. We have been hearing that they're hoping to release it early 2026, which could hopefully be January, February, maybe March, the latest. But if that's the case, they really need to start promoting. They need to start marketing this show, because there's, when you have a hiatus that is so long, like From's, it's easy for the kind of casual viewers to forget about the show entirely. I mean, us diehards, we're going to be here. We're going to be here. It doesn't matter if From takes 2 years, 3 years to in between seasons. Us diehards are always going to be right here watching that new season right when it comes around. But some of your more casual viewers that only kind of watch From just very casually, those are the ones that are going to probably forget about the show, that it's even coming back around, because it's been off for so long. So we really need some trailers. We need even a little teaser would be perfect right around now, just to breathe some new energy into the From fandom and let all the casuals know that, hey, the show's coming back soon.
Yeah, but the chat was talking about it too. It's difficult because you lose that steam, right? Everybody's so excited about the show. If it's a good show, right? You're really
Exactly.
excited about it and the storyline. But then shows nowadays, and it's not just From, really, we
It's
can fault it
everything.
because it's not just From, it's
It's
everything,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jello Jackets was a thing for me. I like Jello Jackets and I watched it when it came out. And then by
Yeah.
the time that they had the conclusion to their story, I wasn't excited. I didn't even
Me
watch
neither.
the
Yeah.
last season,
Me too.
but it's a
Me
really good show and it was a really great storyline. The issue there was timing. You're just taking too long, and I'm no longer excited about the story, or I don't want to invest the time into waiting for the show for the season to drop and then watching the whole season.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they market or start pushing marketing on From. I did see that, like on Amazon Prime, they put it on their logo, right, as one of their shows that they're
Yeah.
pushing. So
Yeah.
that's nice to see. But we
Yeah.
need more than that, right? Because a lot of people are not subscribed to MGM. I'm only subscribed to them because of From. So they kind of need to push it in other directions, which
Yeah.
I would like to see because they did that for the Institute.
Yeah. Yeah, the Institute got a surprising amount of promotion for a first season on MGM.
Mhm.
And part of me started to wonder, like, is this just like the first glimpse of MGM's new, maybe a little bit more aggressive marketing strategy, which I hope to be the case, because that's always been one of the biggest problems for MGM. They're a small network. They are small, so they can't spend millions and millions and millions on marketing like some of these bigger networks can, like HBO and Netflix and stuff like that. But one thing that always bugged me about MGM shows is that we don't get any commercials for them in any of live cable television. Sporting events, these, other stuff that draws millions and millions and millions of viewers every time, they have an event, whether it's a basketball game, a football game, baseball, anything, any kind of live event. That's where you get new viewers. That's where you get new eyes on your product and people to kind of, see something interesting and then they go check it out. I always was a little bit disappointed that MGM didn't run any of their trailers or any of little TV spots during live TV. They pretty much solely only do online marketing, and that's only going to get you so far. I mean, here we are heading into season 4 of From, and while the show has definitely grown a bit, it's still, in the grand scheme of things, a relatively small show. And I think that's due to their limited marketing. But either way, the fan base is definitely big enough and established enough up until this point where they will get as many seasons as they want. It's definitely not at risk of ever getting canceled. However many seasons John Griffin needs, I'm sure MGM will give him that and then some. But yeah, it would be nice to see them a little bit more aggressive with their marketing. But I guess we'll see. And Robert Saunders brought up a good point. Like, yeah, last year, didn't they show us the poster for season 3 before the actual teaser dropped? And exactly, like, I mean, even a little poster right around now would be perfect. Give us a nice official poster, because there's always posters going around, but 9 times out of 10 they're fan made and they're not like legit from MGM. They look good, but they're not legit. We need something legit, something right from MGM. So yeah, even a poster just to get it started, and then a teaser that follows a month or so after that. They need to, get that ball rolling, and hopefully they do pretty soon. But before we continue to dive into all things from season 4, as we want to hear from each and every one of you, your thoughts, your theories, what do you think is going on? When do you think we will see the first trailer? First, we have to say what is up to the awesome chat that has assembled here this evening, starting with our newest member, Panda Nikki. Welcome, Panda Nikki. Thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. Welcome. You, of course, have access to all of the custom Fromville emojis and all of the custom emojis down there in general. And be sure to use them at your leisure. And I know Nikki is still holding on very strong for hashtag Team Spidergate. And who knows, maybe she will end up getting her wish in season 4. But welcome, Panda Nikki. Thank you so much for joining the channel. Very appreciate it. Appreciate it. Let's see what else we got. We got a few super chats here as well. We got Wall Saint Tech for 234. Thank you so much, Wall Saint Tech. Very much appreciate you, my friend. I prefer Doris Day to sing it. Hey, you can't really go wrong with some Doris Day. So I'm not going to argue with you there, my friend. I'm with you. There's nothing wrong with some good old Doris Day. Absolutely. We also got Panda Nikki again for $6.99. Thank you so much, Nikki. Very much appreciated. This is the one show I won't lose stream for. Ride or Die Fromily. Hashtag Spidergate. There it is. The hashtag the Spidergate. Yeah, I mean, out of all the shows that we cover here on the channel and out of all the shows that we just watch in general, From is definitely the one I look forward to covering the most. It's up there among my favorite shows of all time already. And we haven't even seen how it really is going to end yet. I can't wait till we finally see how this whole thing is going to end and where it kind of stacks up amongst the all-time greats. But for me already, From is already one of my favorite series of all time. And it's definitely the show that I have the most fun covering because we get such an awesome fandom surrounding From. You know, there's great fandom surrounding some of the other shows that we cover, whether it's House of the Dragon or the upcoming A Night of the Seven Kingdoms or, you know, Severance, all of the other shows, Shogun, a lot of really great shows that we cover here. But the From fandom for me is kind of always been the most fun. So I can't wait for season 4 to get here. We're going to have a blast. We got a lot of fun things planned.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I think it's really funny the way that we talk about it, right? Blue was saying like just a little taste, right?
Just a bit, yeah.
So obsessed with the show, and it is the best fandom because everybody is so nice. It is strictly theory, right? I love, your Discord. So if you're not on Jeremy's Discord, join the Discord. But everybody is so nice and they build up on each other's theories, which for me, I would say 50% of the reason why I love From is the community and the theories. I like the storyline, right? It's really interesting. It's a very unique show, but the theories that people have come up with are so interesting that they should be shows all on their own if it doesn't come to be. I like sitting down and reading what people have crafted around the story of From and what it could be. That's about 50% of the reason why I like it, and you just don't find that in other shows. However, I do think, guys, in the chat, I think Pluribus is going to give us an opportunity to theorize. Because Pluribus is very much feeling like that From. It's giving us From vibes. They're not giving you too much, right? I think Robert Saunders, Nick, Panda Nikki, all of our people, Golden Child, who love to craft theories, would love Pluribus because they are not really telling us what it is, right? And what the point of the show is going to be about. I think now we have a better idea with your video, which I love, the video that you made on that.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be, one of our shows.
Yeah. I 100% think it will be. 100% agree. And it's great that it's right around the corner. It hasn't started yet. So anyone who hasn't heard about Pluribus, or if you're just hearing about it recently, it starts on November 7th. It's a brand new show, and it's from the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Vince Gilligan, one of the greatest show creators of our time. He has created two of the greatest shows of the last 10, 15 years, maybe the last 20 years. In Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, two phenomenal series. And now he's heading into a little bit of a different genre. This is going to be a little bit more of the mystery genre. And the marketing that they have been doing for the show has been very interesting, to say the least, because like you said, PM, they're really not giving us much. They're giving us some small hints and some small clues here and there. And you really have to kind of play detective to kind of put the pieces together to get an idea as to what Pluribus is going to be about. And I do think I have a handle on it. So anyone who has not seen my Pluribus video, I highly recommend checking it out. It's the most recent video that we've done on the channel. And we're definitely going to be covering that show when it starts in November. And that will definitely give us something, interesting to watch while we wait for From to come around. We got two really good shows coming up with Pluribus and, of course, It, Welcome to Derry. We are definitely going to be covering the It TV show that starts at the end of the month. Two really good shows. I'm looking forward to this. We got It on the 26th of this month, and then we have Pluribus on November 7th of next month. So two shows almost back to back, and we're going to be covering both of them right here on the channel every single week. And yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think not only the From fandom, but maybe even more so, the Severance fandom is going to really like Pluribus. I think the Severance fandom and Pluribus are going to have a major crossover just in the way that they seem to be structured, the kind of mystery that these shows kind of set up. I get the feeling if you like Severance, you're probably going to like Pluribus. But yeah, it looks to be like one of the better new mystery shows that is coming to Apple TV pretty soon. And yeah, we're going to be covering it. And I'm looking forward to it. I think Pluribus is going to be, a really, really good one. One that we're not going to regret watching and covering.
Yeah, the link is in the chat, you guys, but it's really interesting. I think that all of you guys are gonna love it. I'm really excited for that. Um, but From, right?
Yes.
So I do see in the chat they're asking you about the talismans and if they're still going to work. I thought that was a really interesting question
Yeah.
to begin with. Like, why would we think that there's a difference?
Yes, well, we got that recent post, that very interesting recent cryptic post from the official MGM account stating that the rules have changed. And that's very interesting when you start to think about the rules within Fromville. You start to think, the first rule that comes to mind is the talismans keep the monsters out. That's one of the rules of Fromville. There are certain kind of rules and regulations as to which From kind of always abides by. But we have seen towards the end of season 3 that From is changing now. This whole place is changing. So if it's changing so much to the point where even the boy in white is starting to age now, who knows what else is going to change? But yeah, that cryptic post from them the other day stating that change is coming definitely has me wondering, and I know it has a lot of other people wondering, if maybe that is the change, that the talismans are not going to be working anymore. Or maybe the monsters are going to start coming out during the day, something big. I have to imagine it's going to be a big change that's really going to affect the show going forward, not just a small change if they're kind of throwing it at us like this. But yeah, let us know in the chat. What do you guys think? Do you think there's a possibility that that could be the change, or what kind of change could they be referring to? Or are they just trolling us at the end of the day? I don't know.
I mean, I feel like they kind of trolled us when it came to the trailer that we got with Boy in the Barn, because that was not the audio for that trailer. So
True.
now I'm not really believing what they're putting out there is not going to be 100%. The audio might be different, or the way that they're stating things might be different. So I don't trust them all the way with the information that they're giving us, but they did kind of hint at that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. If there's a big change coming to the show, then I have to imagine it's not going to be good for the residents of Fromville. That's for sure. It is not going to be good. But we got Michael DJ for $5. Thank you so much, Michael. Very much appreciate you, my friend. Any predictions for the next shocking event to happen in the coming season? Well, I mean, just to piggyback off the one that we were just kind of talking about, yeah, I mean, if something big coming, if there is some big kind of change coming, then that could definitely lead to a shocking event, like them finding out the talismans don't work, them finding out monsters are coming out during the day, or some other kind of drastic change. But I think there's going to be a lot of big shocking moments in season 4. I'm not 100% sure like which one's going to be first, which one's going to be last, but I'm very confident we're going to get a lot of really big deaths in this season, even more than we got in season 3. And I think one of those big ones is going to be Ellis. I think Ellis is not long for the show. I think if they are going to be continuing the trend of trying to break Boyd down, he's already at a pretty vulnerable place right now where season 3 ended off after the whole ordeal with Elgin and saving Fatima. Like, Boyd's been put through the ringer in season 3 already. So if they're going to continue to try and break him, I do eventually see Ellis being one of the main targets. I don't know, for some reason, I just get this feeling that Ellis is not going to survive season 4. And I think that's going to be a huge blow to Boyd and of course, a massive shocking event. But another shocking event I think could potentially happen is, and I know a lot of people have been talking about this for seasons now, so it's not a new theory by any means, but the potential for another massacre. That's something I always found very interesting. You know, we look at the massacre of 1978, and that event almost seemed to serve as the kind of switch point, the kind of reset point. You know, we've always been kind of wondering if Fromville is undergoing these cycles over and over again, and what starts a new cycle, what ends a previous cycle, how does that work? And a lot of people have come to the conclusion that they believe that these giant massacres are the signal that a cycle is ending and a new one is beginning. So some people, a lot of people have been wondering if we're going to get another sacrifice, another massacre. And I think that could be a very big, shocking event that we could potentially get in season 4. Now that the Man in Yellow has showed up, now that Jade and Tabitha have uncovered way too much information, I have to imagine whoever's in control is going to want to end this cycle as quickly as they possibly can before Jade and Tabitha, break this whole thing wide open. So we might see another attempted massacre at some point in season 4.
Mm. I have heard that. I think it's a very popular theory. Michael
Mm,
Dici, do you have any? Put it in the chat because we would like to know. So
yeah,
one of the more popular theories is another massacre. The reason why I don't think that that would happen is because we are getting just about 2 more seasons of the show
yeah,
before it's done, before the
yeah.
story is done, according to what we know.
Mhm.
If they massacre everybody, we still need them for the rest of the
No,
storyline.
I
It
think we'll
wouldn't
get an attempted massacre, not a massacre. I think we'll get an
attempt it.
attempted
Okay.
one. But our people our core characters will survive it. I think
They have to. They have to
they have.
because
Yeah,
I
they
think
have.
at
Yeah.
this point we can start over with a
No,
whole
no,
new town,
no.
new people. We
Can't do
just will not accept them.
Yeah,
We
no.
have a difficulty accepting new
Imagine
people.
that, losing all
No.
of our characters in like one episode and them literally just bringing
Mm-mm.
a whole new freaking cast in for like the last season only. That would be nutty. Oh my God, there'd be a riot. There'd be riots in the street. No, I think if a massacre comes, it's going to be an attempted massacre, but I think our people will survive it, or the core characters
Mhm.
will survive it. It's not going to take everybody out. That's kind of how I see it happening. If it happens at all, it might not. It probably won't.
Yeah. Um, the reason why I don't think it would happen is because from what we see and from there are rules and regulations established.
Yeah.
The massacre, what we know of that massacre is that it happened before they got to the point where Tabitha and Jade figured out that they were reincarnated. That
Mhm.
was before then. So something makes me believe that if there's rules and regulations, once they get to that point, you can no longer just slaughter them and keep them from finding out the truth. Now they have
Mhm.
unlocked that level of
Okay.
knowledge, right? And so perhaps they start changing things about the monsters, like the chat was talking about the talismans. Perhaps you start removing the power that the talismans hold, or you
Mhm.
start changing little rules here and there because now they have more knowledge. So you have to take something away. Something
Okay.
about From is that we
It
have
does tend to take
noticed
things away
it
from them.
takes away. It gives
Yeah.
you, but it
Yeah.
also gives you
It
things.
will give
It
you
will
at times.
provide you with food,
Yeah.
but it will take, for example, with Boyd, it provided him with the talismans. It
Yeah.
took his wife. That
Yeah.
was, he lost his wife. It provides them with food, but then
And then
again,
takes it away.
it takes from them, right?
Yeah.
We lost Tian Chang, and they
Yeah.
happened to find all of this food.
Mhm.
So now that they have this knowledge, perhaps they're going to take away the talismans and things that they have been given. But I just don't think that it would be like in the cards for them to be allowed to just slaughter them. That would be
Mhm.
too easy. Now,
Yes,
the
maybe.
post, right? The post
Well, if
that they
if there's no
put on
slaughter,
there.
it no, sorry, go ahead.
No, the post that they put on there said the rules are changing when
Yep.
they break it and chaos erupts. So
Mm,
to me, it's like, okay,
when
we're
they
changing
enter.
some of the rules. Now we could just walk in. The
Yeah.
talismans are not going to keep us from breaking it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, it does make sense, and like you said, when they enter, chaos erupts. That definitely points a little bit more to the monsters getting inside again. So, again, a lot of signs are pointing to these talismans potentially not working anymore, and that's a scary proposition. That's a very scary thought for the survivors, with it being one of their only means of defense. Um, I guess if there's no massacre, if they're not allowed to do another massacre, I wonder what are the forces of Fromville going to do to try and break this cycle, I guess, because they can't just let Tabitha and Jade just complete their quest. They have to try and stop them some way. So if it's not going to be a massacre, they need to get kind of creative, I guess, in terms of how are we going to end this cycle before they before they beat the final level, I guess. And maybe that's where the Man in Yellow comes in. Maybe that's why he's finally kind of getting involved into the fray, where he apparently seemed to never really get involved in any of the previous cycles, or at least up until this point, we don't have any evidence that the Man in Yellow has ever gotten involved in any of the previous cycles. I mean, yes, we have a little bit of evidence that he might have had some kind of presence with Miranda drawing him. But I guess that's an interesting question that Miranda kind of needs to answer. Did she see the Man in Yellow while she was in Fromville, or is the Man in Yellow just something she had a vision of? I tend to think it was probably just a vision. You know, a lot of that stuff down in that basement, I don't think Miranda saw a lot of that stuff outside of just visions and dreams. So maybe she was dreaming of the Man in Yellow, knowing that one day he was going to enter the fray. But as far as we know, the Man in Yellow hasn't gotten involved anywhere prior till now. At least we don't have any evidence for that. Maybe that's why he's here. Maybe the Man in Yellow is here to end this cycle, or to attempt to end this cycle. After all, knowledge comes with a cost. Maybe he is that cost. Maybe he is that reckoning. Because I have to imagine Fromville is going to throw something crazy at Jade and Tabitha to try and stop them this season. With how far they got, with how much they've uncovered, I have to imagine they're going to throw something at them to try and stop them.
They have to, right?
They
It
got
has
it, right?
to
They have to
remain
try.
interesting. And there have been times in the town where they are comfortable. They are comfortable enough to have a semblance of a life because of the
Yeah,
talismans.
yeah,
The
yeah,
talismans provide that for them, right?
true.
If you take that away, I think that that would be the tool that would be most useful in the opposition if there's an opposing party or opposing team to ruining their lives, to
Yeah.
make them so afraid that they are no longer okay at night, no longer okay
Mm,
during the day, right? Um, from functions on fear and hope, right? It's fear and hope that keep getting mentioned over and over in the show. And I think that the talismans gave them a lot of hope when they found them, that they could maybe figure this out or have some time where they don't have to be afraid. I would like to see those be taken away because I think that would make it interesting.
it would. I mean, it would certainly make the show like instantly way more interesting if all of a sudden these talismans just stop working. And again, maybe that's what that post was hinting at. If you're to look at that post that they posted the other week in isolation, I mean, I don't see how you translate that to anything other than the talisman stopping to work. Again, it's, the rules are changing. When they get in, chaos erupts. It seems pretty clear that that is maybe a little wink and a nod to the talismans potentially stopping to work, stop working. And yeah, that's going to create a very, very new and interesting dynamic to the show, because then it's a free for all. Then it's back to digging holes to hide at night, trying to find little hiding spots where you hope that they won't find you. That's going to completely change, almost the entire face of the whole show. To the point where, what do they do? Do they even contemplate moving at some point and trying to find other, shelter where they can better hide and defend themselves? That could potentially change the whole course of the show if these talismans stop working. But yeah, I mean, whatever the change is that's coming, I get the feeling it's going to be big. And whatever is going on with Jade and Tabitha in season 4, I mean, yeah, Fromville definitely is going to be throwing something at them to try and stop them. I'm not sure what it'll be. I'm not sure what form it will come in, but I have to imagine Fromville is going to do everything it can to try and stop Jade and Tabitha this season. And it's going to be interesting to see if Jade and Tabitha are up to the task. Are they up to, this mountain that they have in front of them? Are they going to be able to climb this? Are they going to be able to finish what they've started? They've gotten very far. But they've gotten far with help. Jim has been there to help with a lot of this stuff that they have, uncovered. Jim was the one who really uncovered and broke the whole thing open in the finale. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jade and Tabitha are going to be able to kind of continue this journey and finish the quote unquote quest? Or is Fromville going to start throwing the whole book at them and it's going to start getting a lot tougher for them? I'm not sure. But I have to imagine they're going to at least try to stop them. And that should be interesting to see how they try to stop them. But yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of shocking events for season 4. I think it's going to be the darkest season yet. Personally, I think we're going to get way more deaths. I mean, we got 2 pretty big deaths in season 3. One of them was incredibly heartbreaking in Tien Chen, and even Jim's was heartbreaking, but I know not for everybody. I know some people actually liked Jim's death. Like, you know, our good old friend Star loved watching Jim die. But for me, they were both tragic deaths, for me anyway, especially seeing the growth that Jim kind of underwent under those final few episodes before he got killed off. But as bad as Tien Chen's death was, and maybe Jim's death was, depending on who you are, I think season 4 is going to be way worse than that. I think we're going to get way more deaths, bigger deaths too. Like Tien Chen was such a tough death to see, but she wasn't a huge main character overall. Like, she was a beloved character. She was, you know, part of the heart and soul of From, but narrative wise, she wasn't a huge character. I think we're going to see some really big characters get killed off in season 4. You know, the Donnas, the potentially Victors, characters like that. They're really big ones. And I think it's going to be dark. Again, I think season 4 is going to be the darkest season we are ever going to get. And a lot of our characters are not going to make it out. But we shall see. We shall see. What if the Man in Yellow is responsible for the last massacre? That was another theory that came up a lot last year as well. When the Man in Yellow first showed up and we saw that he was able to kill Jim during the day, that he could come out right during broad daylight, a lot of people started to wonder if the Man in Yellow was actually the one who committed the massacre and not the monsters. Now, I suppose anything's possible. The Man in Yellow definitely showcased that he has, you know, like superhuman strength, the way he ripped Jim's throat out super easy. So I imagine he's strong enough to kind of just tear through the town like that if he really wanted to. But I don't know. For me, I tend to think the massacre was the monsters. I think if the Man in Yellow had a hand in it, maybe he orchestrated it, but I don't think he did it himself. I think the monsters were the ones who actually committed the massacre. But who knows?
Yeah, something about the Man in Yellow just gives you the vibe that he is an upper management. If
Yeah.
he is not the CEO of this company, he definitely is an upper management, and he wouldn't concern himself with, you know, petty little massacres. He comes out when a part of the game, if you will, is unlocked. And I don't think that Miranda and Christopher got to the point where they knew that they were reincarnated. I think perhaps Victor would have mentioned that his mother told him something,
Yeah.
or that she kind of started acting or behaving in that manner. I
Yeah.
think that they died without knowing who they were, that they
Mhm.
were reincarnated, especially if we see that Christopher and Miranda had this relationship where they were not trusting of each other. If they knew that they were reincarnated and they knew the story, I think that they would have trust in each other because they would understand they're basically going through the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I don't think Christopher or Miranda got anywhere near as far as Jade and Tabitha did, and I think we at least have some, you know, if not concrete proof, I feel like we at least have some evidence that Miranda didn't get as far as Tabitha. You know, we look at the journey that Tabitha went on. She had to go through this faraway tree to get to the lighthouse, to get back to the real world, to see the paintings and all that, to come back, and then hopefully finally remember who she was. Miranda was on her way to this faraway tree in hopes of getting into it and saving the children. But Miranda died before she even got to the tree. That in and of itself tells me she didn't get anywhere near as far in her journey as Tabitha did. Tabitha made it to the tree, made it to the lighthouse, made it out of Fromville, made it back. Miranda didn't even make it to the tree. So I think that's just another sign that, yeah, they didn't come anywhere near as close to figuring out who they really were, like Jade and Tabitha did. I mean, Miranda died on her way to the tree. Maybe if Miranda would have made it to that tree and gone to whatever destination the boy in white had in store for her, maybe that would have led to Miranda finally figuring out who she really was. But it looks like Miranda died on her way to the tree and never made it inside. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think Miranda and Christopher found out who they really were. And I think we have evidence for Christopher not finding out who he is as well when we get that flashback of Victor when he's spying on Christopher and the man and the boy in white talking. And Christopher is just completely, not taking anything the boy in white is saying. He's not believing him. He's getting super angry. He definitely was not playing along. And that to me screams someone that hasn't figured this out yet because they're still so resistant to what the boy in white is trying to tell him. So I think there's plenty of evidence that points to both Christopher and Miranda not getting anywhere near as far as Tabitha and Jade.
Yeah, and something that I try to keep in mind is that there are differences. So not every game has the same sort of dynamics.
Yeah.
Because when Miranda and Christopher were playing this game, when it was their turn to figure out the story of From, Miranda was given some information that Tabitha was not given. So Miranda was painting and illustrating things that she saw. In fact, she told her husband, I see everybody that came before me. And she told her husband the story of From. She already knew before she even got into From that there was a place and that you could never leave once you entered, and that she was seeing everybody that came before her. That's how Henry knew the story of From. So this is before she even got into town. Tabitha was not given that information. She had less to work with. So it seems like every time they play, it may not match exactly the same. They're not given the same clues or the same details. Tabitha was only given this minuscule detail of her having a reoccurring dream where she's a little girl and she's getting scared, and the bracelet. She kept making this bracelet.
Yeah.
So that's all she was given. She, to this day, she has not told us that she has premonitions or seen the people that came before her. It seems like that wasn't part of her character.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely tend to agree with you. We haven't seen at least any evidence pointing to otherwise up until this point, anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think all of the storylines going into season 4 are incredibly intriguing. There's really not a single storyline that I'm not looking forward to. I mean, maybe Fatima and Ellis. I'm just not a big Fatima and Ellis fan. I'm just not super invested in their storyline. But every other storyline heading into season 4, I am so ready for. I am so invested. And even Julie's, with the whole story walking ability of hers now, like even her storyline has become incredibly intriguing. Yeah, I think this is going to be fun. Can you show the post? I will look for it. Let me see if I can find it. I will bring it up. I forget where I even saw it.
It's on your Discord. So if you go on your Discord, it's posted there on the From
all right
section of your Discord. May I direct you to your very own Discord?
Yeah, I will find it and I will pull it up at some point. But yeah, let's see what we'll see what it potentially means. Who knows? And thank you for this, Ruby. Very much appreciate that. The joy that arises inside when I see a Jeremy Ice and Fire live stream is currently happening. Awesome. We love to be here. We love diving into all this stuff with each and every one of you. Absolutely. And Suzanne says the talismans never worked. They kept them alive for a reason. And I know Suzanne, and so there have been some others that have been, under the impression that maybe the talismans never worked, that the monsters were just playing a game this whole time, making them think they work, getting them to lower their guard, getting them to feel more comfortable for the inevitable slaughter that they're going to attempt at some point. And I think that could be a major twist if this whole time the talismans never really worked. The monsters were just playing along. That would be very nuts. It'd be absolutely nuts. Star, I celebrated with a pizza the next day, referring to Jim's death.
Jim's death.
Yeah, gotta be referring to Jim's death. Love it. Yeah, the talismans never worked, not even as far as I'm concerned. And again, that could be a very interesting twist if that's true. And again, I know that's a popular theory. I know Susan's been saying it for a while. That's an interesting idea, to think that maybe the talismans never worked, that the monsters were just playing this long game this whole time, waiting for the perfect right time to strike. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? Bill D says, when they get in, can this refer to the good characters getting into a new forbidden place? Through a secret door? Isn't there a small door on one of Victor's maps? I'm not sure if there's a small door on one of Victor's maps. I'll have to go back and check. There's so much stuff on some of those maps that I imagine there's probably some doors scattered somewhere. He does draw a lot of doors in terms of where the faraway trees enter and exit. Like there's always like a mark as to where these faraway tree exits land. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, could when they get in maybe not be referring to the monsters? Could it potentially be referring to some of the characters getting into some new location? I suppose that's as possible as anything, Bill D. I definitely suppose it's as possible as anything. Who knows? Who knows?
The reason why we think, Bill, that it is the monsters is because the pose was accompanied by a picture of Smiley when he's standing over Colony's house and the balcony.
The banister.
So it was accompanied by Smiley and that, scene where he's actually inside Colony House. That's why we think when they get in is referring to the monsters themselves.
Yeah. We see that they got that little snippet of that, like you said, that scene in Colony House, the famous scene of the Colony House massacre, and for them to put that scene under that specific caption, like you said, PM, it definitely kind of makes you point towards the talismans that much more. Like something bad is happening with these talismans. And yeah, I think we're gonna find out. We're going to find out exactly what is going on with these crazy talismans and what, getting in ultimately means. I tend to agree. I do think it is talisman related. It seems like there is, sometimes Occam's razor is the right, approach. Simplest answer is the right one. But who knows? Who knows what's really going on? That's the thing about From, you see something, they show you something that makes you think, okay, 100%, this is what it's going to be. And then when the show actually gets there, it's something totally different entirely. So they are very adept at sleight of hand, making us think one thing when really something else is going on. So while it points very heavily to the talisman stopping, to the talisman's not working anymore, who knows? Maybe there's something else going on. Could be possible. If Miranda got into the tree and lighthouse and got pushed out, would she have made it back to the real world with home with Henry? Then what? Yeah, I mean that's the interesting thing that I always wonder about Miranda. I mean, Tabitha had a very specific storyline where she had to go to the tree, which led to the lighthouse, which led to her getting pushed out of the lighthouse and brought to the real world. But Tabitha had to do all those things because she had to get to the real world to meet Henry and to see the paintings in the basement. But if we flash back to Miranda's time, why would Miranda need to go back to the real world? What paintings is she going to see? Paintings she hasn't even painted yet? Or is she potentially going to see paintings from the previous version of her that are out there somewhere? That's one thing I always wondered. I mean, like you said, sometimes these stories echo each other, but they're not always exactly the same down to every single detail. Not every single thing Miranda did is going to be done by Tabitha, and so on and so forth regarding all of these reincarnations. So part of me wonders if there even is a reason for Miranda to go back to the real world. What would she be doing? The paintings aren't there. She's the one who drew the paintings. So that was one thing I always wondered, like, what are the differences between Tabitha's storyline and Miranda's? Where do they differ? Where are they similar? But again, Tabitha's storyline seemed very specific. She had to go see those paintings. She had to meet Henry, so she had to go to the real world. I can't see any reason why Miranda would have had to go to the real world, I guess.
Yeah, and the trees might not have led her to the real world. Maybe they were leading her to the tower, but there is something else that must be done in the tower. I remember that you mentioned this in one of the other live streams. The tower doesn't just have windows that are missing or cracked. The very center of the lighthouse has a crack on the glass, as if somebody tried putting out the lighthouse.
Yeah.
So perhaps it's not just going there to go to the real world, but it's going there and turning off the light or doing something else in that lighthouse that may change the game or advance the game in one way or another.
Yeah, I always thought that was interesting how when Tabitha finally got to the top of that lighthouse and we see the few shots of the center light that's lit in the center of the lighthouse. And yeah, we see the glass surrounding it is all smashed up in a few different places. Like you mentioned, it almost gives you the impression that somebody tried putting this lighthouse out at some point. Somebody tried extinguishing this fire at the top of the lighthouse. I guess the only question is why, and what would that have accomplished? What would have happened to Fromville if that light does go out? I guess is the question. But yeah, and that's the thing with the lighthouse. It's still a massive, massive question mark. You know, if there's only 2 seasons left, they do need to start, you know, kind of answering some of these questions that have been lingering since season 1 and season 2. Not the least of which is the lighthouse. What is the lighthouse? Who built it? Why did they build it? How come there's a lighthouse in the middle of the forest with not a little bit, with no water anywhere in sight? Some of these things need to start getting answered a little bit more. We need to figure out the function of the lighthouse, why it was built, and that will hopefully give us a better indication as to what role it's going to play in the rest of the show, if any at all. I mean, could we have gotten to the point where the lighthouse is no longer going to be a, you know, main fixture on the show? I certainly hope not. They set this lighthouse up to be incredibly important. So I hope at some point we figure out who built it and why.
Yeah, it seems to be very interesting. And also within the chess pieces, right? We have talked about this, you guys, but the metaphors that are within the game of chess and the fact that a lighthouse is a part of the game of chess, it makes
Mhm.
you think that it is part of the game, not just a fixture and from.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly have propped it up to be that. It seemed to be a very vital location that was, I always got the impression, was going to be a main focal point of the show through to the finale. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to just wait and see if we learn a little bit more about the lighthouse in season 4. Guess we shall see. Don't worry, everyone. Jim will be back. I guarantee you that. Another theory that many have been talking about, that Jim is going to be back, that Jim is either going to return or that Jim isn't dead at all. There's been a lot of Jim being back theories that have been going around ever since the season 3 finale. You know, me still, I still am at the point where I do think Jim's gone. I do think he's dead. I think his death is going to serve as a catalyst that is either going to break Tabitha or make her that much more determined to figure this out and get her family out of there. I feel like it's got to be one or the other. It's got to be one of the extremes. She can't just go on being the regular old Tabitha. Seeing Jim's death is either going to completely break her or completely motivate her to finish this. It's got to be one of the two. But yeah, I don't know. I think Jim's time is done. I think we could see Jim again, him returning in one of those ghost-like avatars that we've seen in the past, like Father Cautry returns to see Boyd, like the bartender Tom returns to see Jade. I could definitely potentially see Jim returning and showing up to Tabitha in a scene or two. But in terms of him like returning from the dead, I think Jim's gone.
Yeah, and we've discussed this in the previous live, but just being messy, I want to see him as a ghost from. I think that that would be very interesting for my own personal reasons.
Mhm.
However, we know that it might not be Tabitha who he is there to inspire, and we already
True.
know this. We know this for a fact. It is Julie. Julie, who has this newfound gift of story walking, is
Mhm.
inspired by her father's death. She comes in and she's trying to save him, right? And we see that she is making this attempt. She's saying she believes this is when it happens. So that makes me think that this is maybe the first time that she, no, this would be the second time. If she did it the first time, she would know how he dies. The second time she would be trying to save him. So this
Mhm.
is at least the second time that she attempts to save him. If Jim
Yeah.
comes back as a ghost avatar, it would be to motivate Julie to explore, to use this newfound ability to show us some more from story by just, walking through, just like she did with Boyd and the rope. So I think if he's gonna be somebody's ghost, it's gonna be Julie's ghost.
Oh, that's another interesting pick. I mean, if he doesn't return to Tabitha, I could totally see him returning to Julie. Like you said, this moment definitely created almost some unfinished business there between Julie and Jim. We know now that Julie eventually is going to get to this point where she is going to be consumed with trying to save her father, trying to go back to this one point. And yeah, I totally like the idea that, at first I thought this was a future version of Julie that has traveled back dozens and dozens and dozens of times trying to save Jim. But then when you pay a closer attention, when you take a closer look at the dialogue, like you just mentioned, I think this is the place, she says. I think you're right. I think that more points to the idea that this is maybe Julie's only second or maybe third time at most finally getting to the right spot, where maybe she got there once and she saw the death, as you said, and she's been trying to get back there ever since, with her finally getting to the right place. So even this future version of Julie might not be like super, super good at her story walking ability yet. She still might, I mean, she's better at it, clearly, but she might not have a full handle on it to the point where she can just travel wherever she wants, whenever she wants. So no, I like that idea that even this future version of Julie is still very much, hoping and praying, trying to get back to the spot and just barely gets there. And again, only in time to see her father die again.
Yeah, I'm really going for the second time. I think that this is the second time,
Yeah.
and I base it on her guttural scream. When
Yeah.
she screams in a way where she is witnessing something horrific, maybe for the second time. The first time she's going to be just overcome with emotion. The second time, she has that guttural scream. And you would imagine that if you are story walking and you're attempting to save your father from this, after a while it's going to lose that emotion because you know
Yeah.
what happens, so
You
you're
get
not going to scream
desensitized.
anymore. Yeah, you're probably just going to go back like, okay, let me try again. But
Yeah.
there's not going to be that strong like emotion attached to it. That's what makes me think it's the second time. And
Hmm.
so does that mean that we are not watching the original timeline? Now that they have introduced this into the story, we have to question everything that we just saw. That wasn't the original timeline because we saw
Hmm.
Julie come in. So we're not watching them in the original timeline. This is the second timeline that we're watching. And when did we deviate? When did it split off, right? It's about to
Hmm.
get really complicated as it does when you introduce the sort of time not being linear
Yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah, it can get a little dicey. It can get a little dicey at times when you introduce something like this onto a show that isn't built around it from the beginning. It can be a little iffy. Hopefully John Griffin has a very kind of clear plan on what he's doing with this story walking ability and the time travel aspect of it. I hope it's not something that they're just going to wing and kind of white knuckle through it and just throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I definitely could potentially see season 4 getting a little bit complex and maybe even a little bit convoluted if they don't have a good handle on this story walking / time travel ability. They need to play it, as logically as they can, where it's not too crazy, fantastical, out of left field.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping it won't be. I'm confident that they're going to have a pretty decent idea, a decent plan for what they're going to do with this story walking ability. But yeah, as you mentioned, it can definitely get away from you really quick if you let it. So hopefully they'll
Yeah.
be smarter than that.
Yeah, and I do see, you guys in the chat are talking about the haircut, right?
Mm.
Elizabeth Jaramillo, that wig, and a couple of other people discussing the horrible haircut that she has. It makes me think about this. And tell me, Chad, if you have seen this movie. Jeremy has not. I keep trying to get him to watch this movie, but the movie Everything All at Once,
Oh
it
yeah, I'm gonna
says
check
in
that.
order for you, yeah, that movie. So there's a rule that in order for you to switch timelines, you have to do something unexpected that you wouldn't have done. So people go around doing very strange sort of behavior that they wouldn't have done in their regular life, and that enables you to change
Hmm.
to a different timeline. So when I saw that, and I remember her haircut being so bad and so black because she does not have black hair, her hair is brown and it has very light ends. So she dyed it and cut it into a Dora the Explorer bob. I think that that's very random. Perhaps the same rule applies. You have to do something drastic in order to change your timeline. It made me think of her haircut because I can't really think of a reason why she would do this to herself and where she would get hair dye.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, that is a good point. That is that is a very good point. I mean, the haircut. It's almost like, did and I shudder to think, but could there be a possibility that Marielle Scissorhands gave Julie this freaking haircut too? Like, did she fucking strike again at some point and fuck someone else's beautiful hair up? Could Marielle just be going around just slicing and dicing haircuts left and fucking right? First Christy, now Julie. Let me find out that Marielle gave her this haircut and this dark black dye job. Yeah, you're gonna have to vote her off the island pretty soon. She's destroying things left and right. She's a bull in a china shop. This Marielle with her Edward Scissorhands. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think on a more serious note, I do think Julie's storyline is going to be one of the more intriguing ones. um, you know, and especially with her storyline being one of the ones where it really can kind of go almost anywhere. With her getting this brand new story walking ability just at the end of season 3, there's a lot of different places that you can go. There's a lot of different avenues that you can go down as a writer with a storyline like this. So I guess that's my thing is I kind of just want to see where they're going to go with her. What is Julie going to be doing? I definitely get the feeling she's going to be practicing her story walking ability to try and get a little bit better at it. But what is going to be her main kind of story plot point for season 4? What is she going to be getting into? I don't know. I don't know, but I definitely get the feeling that we are going to start getting closer and closer to all of these smaller individual storylines beginning to converge into one big main storyline. So that's what I expect by the end of season 4. Just one main storyline beginning to come together instead of a bunch of, solitude and separate, smaller storylines spread out. Things are going to start coming together, I think. But we shall see. We shall see. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let us know your thoughts and your theories for season 4, for the man in yellow, the boy in white, any of our characters. What exactly do you guys think is going to be happening in season 4? But why didn't the man in yellow kill Julie instead of pushing her away? Is she untouchable while she's story walking? Now that is another question that we've been wondering as well, Golden Child. And we simply just don't have the answer to it yet. But yeah, I mean, maybe that could potentially be it. Maybe while Julie is story walking, she can't be killed. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe it's one of those quote unquote rules that Fromville needs to abide by. Maybe the man in yellow can't kill a story walker or can't kill Julie. Yeah, and a big question there. And not only that, why did the man in yellow kill Jim? Why did he not go for Jade or Tabitha? If Jade and Tabitha are the main threats, if they are the ones that are, finding out all of this information that they seemingly shouldn't know, why exactly is the man in yellow going for Jim and not Jade and Tabitha? Unless it's again part of the rules. Maybe the man in yellow can't hurt Jade and Tabitha directly or any of the quote unquote reincarnations. Again, there tends to be some kind of rules in Fromville that some characters and entities need to abide by. Maybe that's just another one of the rules where the man in yellow can't kill Jade and Tabitha, but he can kill their allies, hence Jim being the target.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that question, Golden Child. And this proves that, Jeremy, we have been saying this, the best chat in the world, but we're
Wow.
still coming up with questions that I didn't ever think about.
You know?
Um, when I think about a golden child, it makes me think he's not wasting his time with Julie because she's not physically there. So somehow, when she story walks, her body is left behind. When we first saw her story walking to throw the rope down to Boyd when he's in the well, her body is left at the ruins. So
Mhm.
she somehow is astral projecting
Yeah.
to that place and time, but she's not physically there. So it makes me think he's not wasting, Menengello's not wasting his time trying to kill Julie because he knows she's not actually here. Maybe he's not able to kill her because she's not physically there, and he needs to physically be able to get to her in order to have any sort of you know power in that manner. But I really love the idea and the question. It never occurred to me, Golden Child. One of your supporters who is always writing in the chat. And there's a
Mm.
new feature, right, Jeremy, about the chat. There's a new feature where if you are participating in the comment
Yes.
section, you will be rewarded, guys, for all of your hard work and dedication.
That is true, and I thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, YouTube and the YouTube Studios has recently added a new function to the YouTube Studios, something else that we can take a look at, and it highlights the just the top contributors of the week, and it shows you how many comments they've left and stuff like that. So yeah, every week we're going to be shouting out the top 5 community spotlight features. So big shout out to each and every one of you, and thank you so much for all of the support that you guys have shown the channel. We got Stephanie is one of them. We got Aldous, another 28 Days Later fan. Samuel B himself, and of course Star were the top contributors to the channel last week. So I very much appreciate each and every one of you, and just a cool little feature that the YouTube Studios has recently added to their features. So always wanted to kind of highlight everybody who contributes to the channel, each and every one of you who always show up for the streams and watch the videos. Cannot thank each and every one of you enough. So that was a really cool little new feature. So big thank you to each and every one of you. The top 5 right there. Stephanie Aldous, 28 Days Later fan, Samuel V, and Star. The all-stars
Star.
this week.
Yeah, all of that hard work is paying off, Star. That's so great that you're being recognized for all of your gym hatred. It's really getting you places. And I'm so
The
glad. I
Jimmy.
knew I was going to see Star there. I just knew it. And Samuel B too. And all the other ones. You guys are so amazing.
Yeah, it was a really cool little feature that they added, and yeah, can't appreciate each and every one of you enough. I really can. I love this fandom, love this community, and yeah, we will continue. We will continue to be here every single Sunday, diving into all things Fromville until season 4 gets here. But of course, we hope that some of you, or we hope all of you, come and join us on the Pluribus journey that is going to be starting in November 7th. The TV series Pluribus starts officially. And it looks like it's going to have a really interesting kind of mystery aspect to it. And even though the show is kind of shrouded in, secrecy in terms of what it's really about, we have been able to kind of suss together the gist of what it's about. And it looks like there is a virus that's going to be breaking out over the entire world, a virus that doesn't make people sick, a virus that makes people perpetually happy. And there's one person on the planet who seems to be immune to this virus. Hence the title of the show, Pluribus. Which is derived from the Latin term e pluribus unum, which means out of the many, one. Out of the many infected, there's one immune. And that's going to be our main character, Carol. And knowing that this show is from the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, that makes it that much more exciting. Like Vince Gilligan has really created some of the best shows of all time with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And now that he's moving into the mystery genre, I'm there. I am all for it. So we're going to be covering all things Pluribus when the show starts next month. And hopefully you guys come and join us. hopefully you guys come and join us. But for now, we're going to continue to dive into Fromville. She could have just found Jim's body in the prime timeline. Now she's back to stop the killing. Potentially, that is definitely potentially a possibility as well. You know, when you start to introduce a character like Julie, where her timeline is no longer linear, then there's a lot of wiggle room. There's a ton of wiggle room to play with that there in terms of where did this quote unquote future version of Julie really come from? How far in the future did she really originate? So yeah, I think, again, depending on how they play it, the Julie storyline could be very, very interesting. All versions of you are happening now, maybe all at once, all around you, all at once. Yeah, I need to see that film. You know, you've recommended it a few times, and everybody that I've talked to that has watched it said it's really, really good. Everything all at once. So I'm going to check that out. I am going to check that one out for sure. We have to kind of assume that the writers are telling us who it works through Ethan's expository dialogue unless they explicitly change the rules. Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I think that they did very cleverly through Ethan at the very beginning of the series, right in season 1, was kind of lay out the blueprint for the show, or at least a rough outline, a rough blueprint for how the show is going to go in terms of Ethan's line about the quest, stating that this is a quest. We have to finish the quest, complete the quest in order to get out. And the closer you get to the end of the quest, that's when it gets the scariest. That was, in a sense, a kind of blueprint for how the entire show is going to go. It was a little bit of an allegory for how the show is going to play out, I believe. So I think we are very much getting to the end with there only being 2 seasons left, which means we are getting to the darker part of the show, the scariest part of the show right before the ending. And if Ethan's kind of premonition is correct, then they need to solve some kind of quest. They need to complete some kind of objective before they can get out. Obviously, I think a lot of us are under the assumption by now that it's definitely not going to be as simple as them just finding an exit and walking on out. They'll most likely get pulled right back in, just like Tabitha got pulled right back in. They are here for a reason. They're here for a very specific purpose. They need to complete some kind of objective or a quote unquote quest, as Ethan states, before they can eventually leave. And again, I think that one line from Ethan at the beginning of the series was just the perfect blueprint for how the whole show is going to play out. And now we are at the dark part. We are at the scary part. And that's why I think season 4 is going to be way worse than season 3 was.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing. In the chat, you guys, let us know. There has been discussion. We know that Ethan is a character that we have gone back and forth on because a lot of us do not like what he has to say. He is a child after all. So when he goes around making big assumptions of this is just like my Chromonaucle book, it's a quest. Some things you can believe Ethan in, and then others, he might not be the voice of reason. Like when he tells Julie, no, there are rules. You're a story walker. First of all, that's where we got story walker from, which I dislike as a title for this great ability. I'm not super into story walker. Time traveler, I don't know, something, whatever, dimensional portal, viewer, whatever it may be. Just not story walker, but he came up with that title and gave it to us, and that's how we assume that this is what she possessed. He also tells her, you can't change anything. How does he know? Right? How are we to assume that he knows everything when this is the child that was running out? Like every time that he could, he was opening the door for monsters, running out into the street, behaving super badly, and getting killed every other day. So how are we suddenly assuming that he is the voice of reason? Do you find Ethan to be credible? Do you believe what Ethan says? Or are you hoping, like me, that what he's saying is just not the reality of it, which is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that he is not the voice of, the end all be all.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, just because Ethan has said this one, potentially even throwaway line doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the truth. Ethan is basing this off his knowledge of fantasy stories from the real world. But this is Fromville. This is an entirely different playing field with a whole different set of rules. So I have to imagine Ethan isn't 100% right there. I think Julie might potentially find out that maybe she can change certain things if she gets good enough at it. But yeah, I don't know how much stock I would put in what Ethan said there. But that's just me. Yeah, Vince Gilligan going back to his sci-fi roots. Indeed. This is going to be really good. It's going to be a really good show. Cool. I'll be there. Awesome. Now, what's so bad about everyone being happy? Now, on the surface, it might sound good. And I actually broke this down into many different kind of layers in my Pluribus video. So definitely check it out for the fuller version. But it might sound good on the surface for everybody to be happy, but at the same time, you're also being robbed of all of your other emotions, which we desperately need to live and survive. Take, for instance, the ability to defend oneself. The ability to defend oneself is predicated on your ability to assess danger around you. And that assessment comes from your fear receptors. If you no longer have fear receptors, if you are always happy all the time and you're never afraid, you lose the ability to defend yourself, along with many other things that could come with the loss of all of these other emotions like anger, sadness, betrayal, all of the other emotions that we feel. So while it might sound kind of interesting for everyone to be happy on the surface, it does potentially present a very grim and dystopian kind of society when you start to break it down and look a little bit deeper. And I went very deep in my Pluribus breakdown video on some of the detriment effects that a virus like this could have on a population. So definitely check out my Pluribus video. And I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised with how interesting this show is going to be. I think it's going to be really, really good. It's not your average virus show. It's not like it's one of those shows where it's another virus breaking out. This is something totally different from anything we have ever seen before. And I think the From and Severance crowd in particular are really going to like it. So check it out, guys. Pluribus begins November 7th, and we're going to be covering all of it. Davey Clay will be there. Love it. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. All right, let's see what else you got. Yeah, agreed. Les Ethan, he's going to give up more details on the Chromononcle book. Yeah, Star earlier in the chat said, I would like to see a little bit less of Ethan and his goat.
Les Ethan and Les Goat. Alma, right? Alma really stole the show, I have to say. But I do see that a lot of you are talking in the chat about the cow. I think Star, this has Star written all over it. She wants to see the cow come back as a ghost. Because you know how
that's actually kind of interesting. If the cow were to come back as a ghost, does it come back to Jade, who was the one who was trying to save it, or does it come back to the milkman who killed it? Like, where do you go if you're the ghost cow? Who are you haunting? Yeah, I don't know. Might haunt Jade. I mean, I think haunting Jade could be fun if you were a ghost cow. But then again, you might want to get some revenge on the one who killed you. So who knows? But of course, leave it a Star to come up with a very interesting concept like that. We love it. We absolutely love it. Shit. All right, let's see what else we got. Well, Ethan, I don't know, but Ellis is more disposable. Yeah, I think Ellis is a goner. I definitely think this is the season that Ellis is a goner. The show and the monsters have been trying to break Void for a while now, and he doesn't have a whole lot of people left in the town that he has a strong familial tie to. It's Ellis, Kenny, and Fatima. That's really it. And you guys know me, my idea. I don't think Kenny's going anywhere. I think Kenny is one of the only incredibly safe characters that is going to be there all the way to the end. again, you can't have as much foreshadowing as they've had for Kenny taking over for Boyd, for Kenny to not take over for Boyd at some point. There's just been way too much foreshadowing for Kenny taking over for Boyd. It has to happen at some point. So I don't think Kenny's going to go anywhere, but I definitely think Ellis is on the chopping block, and maybe even Fatima too. But Ellis definitely, I will be surprised if Ellis makes it out of this season.
Yeah, and it would be a great storyline for Ellis, right? Because what else can he offer the town? What Ellis provided the town from with, which is also a tool and it's also a positive thing, is he and Fatima provided the town with hope. They were these lovers that were able to persist and remain even when everything was falling apart. They were still finding ways to be happy. They got engaged, then married, and then became pregnant. So that's their function in the town. And now that they've had Smiley as a child and everything is falling apart for Fatima, we have seen Ellis be affected by way of Fatima, but not affected himself. So what is there left for Ellis to do but have this death that kind of redeems him in a way? Because when we got to know Ellis, what we knew was that he had a strained relationship with his father and he wasn't helpful. Kenny was so annoyed at Ellis. It's like, stop picking flowers for your girlfriend and help me bury all of these dead bodies around us, right?
Yeah.
Because all he was focused was on his girlfriend at the time. Strange enough, at the beginning of the season, we had a couple, and you and I were talking about this, Jeremy, but we had a couple of different, like, interesting dynamics in the town going on that we didn't see persist. They had an open relationship at the beginning, and Fatima explained it as they were just free. If you love someone,
Yeah.
you just like love them and they love whoever they love. And they had an open relationship. We're not in a committed monogamous relationship. It was just them being happy and free. And then all of a sudden they changed that to being very committed as you can be by marrying each other. But for a while, that was the storyline. And he provided that love story. Did it work for some of us? No, a lot of us were not interested. But I think that was the point. We were supposed to be interested. I fear.
Interesting. I'm sorry, I thought I was on mute. Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted by something in the chat. Fucking Jesus. Love this chat. You guys fucking crack me up so fucking much. But yeah, no, I think it's gonna be dark. I think it's gonna be incredibly fucking dark. I think this is gonna be a very tragic season for Boyd in particular. Again, the Ellis and Fatima thing, I almost feel like it's run its course. Like they've had this relationship ever since the very beginning. It kind of came to the climax in season 3 with Fatima getting pregnant. I almost feel like what else is there to do with Fatima and Ellis? Like they've faced like their giant trial. They luckily came out the other end of it. Now it's time for them to have a tragic death. I just feel like there's just where else do you go with their characters? I mean, I'm sure they could come up with a storyline. Yeah, that would be interesting. But I just feel like it's kind of been the same old thing with Ellis and Fatima every single season. And again, in season 3, they finally gave them something kind of interesting with this pregnancy storyline. It almost felt like that was kind of their arc, building up to that one moment. And, where do you take them from there? And just looking at it from a pure writing standpoint, that would be a question I ask myself. I would look at the entirety of their storyline, the whole of their storyline, and I would see, wow, they have a pretty interesting kind of complete storyline already with these first 3 seasons. What would be a good way to shake up the town, a good way to really break Boyd, to throw something really devastating at him to try and overcome, than to kill them off in a very right after they come out of the other end of this very dangerous situation. They think they're home clear, they survived, boom, only to die in a kind of mundane way, getting killed by a monster or something after surviving this pregnancy. I think that could be a very fitting ending for both of them. I just feel like their storyline has kind of run its course. But then again, there is the whole, idea of Fatima and Smiley potentially having some kind of connection. And that's something I kind of wouldn't mind seeing explored as well. I mean, Ellis, you can kind of kill him off. There's really not a whole lot to do with Ellis. But Fatima could still have an interesting storyline if her and Smiley have some kind of connection that is still established. After all, she did kind of tap right into his memories when she was giving birth to him. Maybe there's some kind of connection that is still lingering between Fatima and Smiley that could be explored in season 4. But as far as Ellis goes, done. Finito.
Yeah, there is something that they have kind of they hinted at this, and I think that you can wrap it up with them giving birth to Smiley, but I would like to see the metaphor go on.
Mhm.
Ellis was painting depictions of himself and Fatima as Adam and Eve
True.
and paradise, right?
Yeah.
A biblical scene where he was Adam and Fatima was Eve. And so
Yeah.
now we know that they give birth to Smiley. So you have it all wrapped up. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Adam and Eve give birth to the monsters. And so it's through them that all of the monsters would be reborn if you happen to kill them. But
Mhm.
I always wonder about the metaphor of Adam and Eve. Where does it go? If you're just going to kill them off, then was that the point of the metaphor of them being in paradise and being Adam and Eve, that they give birth to Smiley? Or that was there more to that metaphor? I
Mhm.
don't know like what happens to Adam and Eve. I'm not
Mhm.
very religious, so I don't know in the Bible, but I assume that they live a long time and procreate because, we have the world and all the people in it. I assume that they don't just, have a horrible ending. And it makes me think
Mhm.
that they would live because they have to. That is their function. If
Yeah.
any other monster dies, maybe it has to be from Fatima and Alice that they are
Mhm.
reborn.
Interesting. Like almost like if any monster dies on the whole show, it's always going to be born through Fatima and Ellis. Like they are the eternal Adam and Eve of the monsters.
Mhm.
That's an interesting idea. That's such a dark storyline for them, but that is super fucking interesting if that could potentially be the case. Um, so yeah, I mean, maybe we are seeing, a little bit of Fatima and Ellis's storyline echoing that of Adam and Eve. I'm not super well versed on the story of Adam and Eve myself either, so I don't really exactly know how their story ends, but I'm sure somebody in the chat does. But no, that's an interesting one, and I've certainly never heard that one before. And that's what I love about this show and this fandom and these discussions, where we are still coming up with theories that we have never even heard before. And we're still seeing theories in the chat that we've never even heard before, even all these years later. So, yeah, that's interesting. That's a very interesting one. Who knows? Maybe we get some more Adam and Eve stuff. Because, like you said, there's been a lot of symmetry, a lot of symbolism pointing to Fatima and Ellis being the kind of Adam and Eve of Fromville. I mean, we see it in all the paintings and stuff. So there has been that kind of imagery associated with Fatima and Ellis up until this point, for sure. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? Maybe it was not Eve, but Lilith, and Lilith got rid of Adam. Ooh, interesting. That's right. Lilith is the snake, I believe, the one who
Mm-mm.
tempts Adam the one who tempts them into eating the forbidden fruit, I believe.
No.
So yeah, maybe there's a little bit of trickery going on there. Some little
I'm like,
trick.
no. Lilith is not the snake. The snake is supposed to be Satan.
Snake is the
Um,
snake. Excuse me.
Lilith is actually a very interesting story. Very, very interesting star. And I like that you bring that up because it makes me wonder, who is Lilith? Lilith was the first wife of Adam. So Adam is a divorcee. Um, Eve is not his first wife. According to the story, God made Adam and Lilith first and made them equally. So Lilith was made just like Adam was made out of clay, and they lived equally, but Lilith refused to obey. She was
Mhm.
not. obeying or behaving. And since she didn't behave or obey, he did away with her and then made Eve. But this time, instead of making Eve equally from clay, he made Eve from Adam's rib so that she would be more his partner, or obliged to be more of his partner
Mm.
and not his equal. A
Okay.
very dark story, super dark story, because it's like, why does he have an ex-wife? Why is she bad just
Yeah,
because she didn't want to listen to this
what's up
guy?
with this? What the fuck is up with this ex-wife nonsense? Jesus Christ. Yeah, I thought Adam and Eve were supposed to be the beginning, but I guess not. There was a fucking Lilith storyline that got chucked away beforehand. Scandalous.
Hmm.
Scandalous. Even Adam had an
Scandal.
ex-wife.
Even
Even
Adam had an
fucking Adam
ex-wife,
had
but
an ex-wife.
it gets tricky. I have questions. I have questions, but it gets tricky because this is religious. And so I want to acknowledge everybody in the chat. I don't want to talk badly about
Oh, of course not.
this. But that was Lilith.
Yeah. And Nick says Fatima, the mother of monsters. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Fatima and Ellis are Adam and Eve, then who exactly would be the Lilith character? Up until this point, we haven't seen any kind of X of Ellis's on the show. So it would have to be more of a symbolic version of Lilith rather than a literal version of Lilith. And that could be, who knows? I mean, who knows who that could be? Maybe even Sarah. Maybe even Sarah.
Mm.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, Adam was not up to par. Or was Lilith not up to par? So he had to get rid of her. Who
We will
knows?
not go there. We will not go there. It's a very touchy subject.
It is.
But Ellis is Adam and she is Eve. So it makes me think that you would want to keep them around just in case another
Yeah.
monster goes. You would want to keep them around so that they could remain as the creators of all of the monsters that need to be reborn.
Yeah, that would be a very grim fate for both of them, in particular for Fatima. And yeah, like Nick L says earlier, Fatima is the mother of the monsters. Then that is her role. She is literally the mother of the monsters. Every time a monster dies, her job within her function within Fromville is to facilitate the rebirth of whatever monster that gets killed. Literally the mother of monsters. Yeah, I don't know. Again, that could be a very, very grim fate for poor Fatima. But I have to imagine after Boyd figured out what happened after killing Smiley, I have to imagine they're probably not going to try and kill any more monsters. Like it must have registered for Boyd that holy shit, I killed Smiley and now here he is being reborn. So after seeing that, it must have registered to Boyd that I can't kill any of these monsters because they might get reborn too. So I wonder if we're even going to see any attempted violence on the monsters in season 4. And if not, how much more dangerous are they going to become when Boyd has to tell the entire town, no, you can't defend yourselves against these things. You can't even try and kill them. Otherwise, this will happen. How much more dangerous are these monsters going to get? And then, of course, you add the potential possibility of the talismans maybe not working anymore, which a lot of people seem to think. I mean, they're definitely potentially setting up these monsters to become incredibly OP. And that's going to be a very big problem for everybody in town. I don't know how they're going to deal with all of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, the communication. I think we go back to the communication. And a lot of us, this has been our number one complaint. Why are they not working together? Why are they
Yeah.
not communicating?
Mm-hmm.
Boyd has the information, so does Ellis and Fatima, that if you kill a monster, they will come back. It's not worth it. This is not a worthy thing to do. In fact, you should avoid it at all cost. Run away, don't kill them.
Mm-hmm.
But Tabitha and Jade now have some information that they have not given the others. So I'm really hoping, and here's to hoping again, right? Because they gave it to us. They gave us a town meeting and it didn't work out for us. But I'm really hoping that in season 4, we will see these two factions. I believe Boyd to be one and Jade and Tabitha to be another. If they could just come together and talk to each
Mm,
other and tell each other absolutely everything they know about the monsters, their function, and the past, what they
mhm.
have learned about them being reincarnations. That could be very helpful because then they would all know not to kill a monster. But as of right now, the only people that know that you shouldn't do that are people that are keeping it to themselves.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. You know, in particular, how the dynamic is going to develop between Boyd and Tabitha and Jade. You know, I feel like they've always kind of been on like not rocky territory, but you've kind of always got the sense that Boyd like wasn't ever the biggest fan of Jade's. But you know, now that they're heading into season 4 and Jade and Tabitha have figured out this purpose that they have, who they are, they're going to have a pretty important storyline going forward. And of course, Boyd is still the sheriff of the town. He's still one of the main characters. He's got a huge part to play as well. So yeah, I wonder how these two characters or how these two entities are going to kind of mesh. Are we going to be able to see Boyd, Tabitha, and Jade all teaming up for the good of the town to try and solve all of this craziness that's going on? Or could we potentially see these two butt heads where they have very different approaches to how they want to handle some of these things? With Jade and Tabitha kind of going a little bit more of the mystical, supernatural route, while Boyd wants to stay a little bit more of the grounded and normal route. Maybe we'll see these two characters or these two groups of characters start to really develop a schism in between the town where they are handling things in two totally different ways, and both of them thinks the other is right. Jade and Tabitha are going to think they're right. Boyd is going to think he's right. Yeah, you know what happens when an immovable object makes an unbreakable force. Like what's going to happen there? In a perfect world, you'd love to see Jade, Tabitha, and Boyd all working together to solve all of this stuff, but this is Fromville after all, and I get the feeling we're going to see a lot of hurdles thrown at these characters. So yeah, I could very well see Boyd kind of just bumping heads with Jade and Tabitha because they're handling things from two totally different POVs.
Yeah. And Boyd is overwhelmed. Boyd, I forgive Boyd. There was a scene that a lot of us were not super happy with in the finale where Jade is trying to explain to Boyd some of the information that he has uncovered. And Boyd, instead of being interested, says, "Call me when you have something interesting. I don't
Yeah,
get this. I don't know what you're doing.
yeah,
Call me
he
when you
couldn't
have
be
figured
bothered. Couldn't be bothered.
not
Yeah,
be bothered."
yeah,
Exactly. So that was very disappointing. However,
Mhm.
at the time, he had so much going on.
True.
Um, so he was very overwhelmed with the technical aspect of day-to-day life.
Mr.
Whereas
Fish and Loaves.
Jade, Mr. Fish and Loaves, right? He has to get down and plan and provide, feed, and organize the people who are always rebelling. We've said this about the town, but we will say it again. This town, the mass of them, are the worst people
Mhm.
to govern. They are not thankful. They storm into the house and try to take over the animals as soon as they hear that there is a food shortage. They don't seem to listen to him. The meeting went horribly. It was just the entire town screaming at Boyd. So that went horribly for him. They're not very thankful, so he's overwhelmed, and I will forgive him for that. But in this
Mhm.
new season, they have to talk to each other. I feel like at this point, we have excused the fact that they don't communicate.
Mhm.
We can't continue to excuse that. At this point, the writers kind of have to make them communicate because it's obvious that they would.
Yeah, I mean, it can't just continuing to be this silence. This is every man for himself kind of approach that we've seen to a lot of these things up until this point, where Victor's keeping things to himself, Tabitha's keeping things to herself, Boyd's keeping things to himself. That's not going to get this done. That is not going to serve any of these characters well in the long run. They need to collaborate. They need to start telling each other what they've seen, what they've experienced, and what they have gone through. Everything, all of it. That's the only way they're ever going to be able to compare and contrast and really kind of put these pieces together in terms of what they really need to do to win. So yeah, I hope you're right. I hope we start to see some of these characters communicating a little bit more. We got that horrible town meeting in season 3 for the first time. We've been waiting for them to do some kind of meeting where they all kind of get on the same page. But that was far from what happened in their town meeting. Their town meeting was an absolute shit show. So yeah, they gotta have to learn to kind of cooperate with each other and learn to work with each other a little bit more and stop playing things a little too close to the chest like they were all doing. Especially Boyd. You know, Boyd is probably the biggest culprit out of all of them when it comes to that. Everything he does, he keeps completely to himself. And that's not gonna wait. That's not the way to, win here. You gotta share. Has to be this needs to be a collective effort that gets them out of Fromville. No one person is going to be able to do it.
Hmm. Exactly. And I do see a very fun and you know discussion in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
or eternal discussion at this point between Sarah and Elgin, right? The division that there is between Sarah and what she
Oh,
has done, and Elgin and what he has done at this point. And to bring that together, you guys, and the chat, I do see that a lot of the times we kind of like pull them apart and make them opposites. They are the closest to each other in town. There's
yeah.
nobody that can relate to each other more than Sarah and Elgin. Sarah will not find somebody that understands her more than Elgin, and neither will Elgin. Even
Mm-hmm.
though you believe him to be a victim of Sarah's, I do believe that in this new season, we can be surprised and they can become friends. They could
Mm-hmm.
become close friends of the discarded, the people who have been manipulated, and the people that have been used by the town, who preyed upon their religious or their weak aspects in
Mm-hmm.
order to manipulate them to do something bad. I think that they're going to end up being friends. It's going to end up being all one faction because they have a lot in common to each other, I believe.
Oh, they totally do. They totally do. They have a lot of common, especially from their very origins. They both started off as like super, innocent and sweet kids that got stuck here and targeted by these entities for manipulation. They have incredibly similar paths, incredibly similar stories. So yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. I don't think that would be a big surprise at all if we see Sarah and Elgin start to become a little bit more friendly. Again, when you look at what Sarah's been through, the only person that's ever been through anything similar to her is Elgin, and vice versa. Everything that Elgin just went through, Sarah has been through already. So, who better to understand you than someone who walked in your shoes or in similar shoes to you? So, yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think we're going to see Sarah and Elgin develop some kind of friendship in this next season. I don't think it'll be anything more than that, but I do think it'll
Mhm.
be a regular kind of platonic friendship. They're the two
Yeah.
outcasts.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be. I will say that I took offense to that. I don't want it to be any more than that.
Me
One,
neither.
we said it all the time. We don't need romance in the
We
show.
don't need more
But then
romance. Yeah.
two, one of the funniest scenes is when Elgin is trying to hit on Sarah, and Sarah's like, "Hey, you're gonna find out, so I'm gonna tell you anyway.
I,
I
I
off
killed
my
my
brother."
fucking brother.
And all of a sudden, he's busy. He wasn't busy
He
before. He was
wasn't
getting
busy.
closer to her, right? He kept getting closer and closer and closer, talking
Yeah.
about his grandma and how he liked to knit owls and making himself seem so sweet. And then suddenly, when she confronts him with the truth, he's busy. He has somewhere to be, and it is
You gotta
not here.
go. You gotta go do
It's
laundry
like,
or
come
something.
on, dude. Why are you hitting on her? Why are you trying to hit on this girl and giving her your owl knitting story that you think is going to like get you closer to her? That was very off-putting of Elgin to try to hit on Sarah at that point.
Yeah.
Um, it's like the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's
It
what
is.
I'm gonna start saying to people. By the way, you're gonna find out what I've done. So I might as well tell you right now.
You're gonna find out what I've
Nothing.
done. So I might as well tell you, hey, I killed my brother. Super
Yeah,
nonchalant, super casual.
exactly. That's a new one. You guys feel free to use it next time you go out and somebody is talking to you. Tell them, hey, You're gonna find out what I've done.
Oh shit. Yeah. Fuck. That was a really funny scene. That was a really, really funny scene. I mean, because like you said, it starts off kind of like awkward and weird and kind of cute. And it almost reminded me a little bit of the Sevi kind of scene we get between Innie, Mark, and Helly in the hallway when they're kind of like awkwardly like staring at each other, like kind of learning how to smile. It's like super weird. It kind of had that vibe to it a little bit. And then yeah, they start talking to each other, and it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. It's not like that was the only weird thing that Sarah said. She says like a few weird things. Like each thing she says gets a little bit weirder than the last. And then she just hits him with the fucking bombshell. Like, oh, by the way, I killed my fucking brother. Yeah, that scene's fucking wild. That is a wild scene, but
Yeah.
a great one.
And it's all to Elgin. It's like, leave her alone, dude. Like, leave
Yeah,
her
just
alone.
leave her
She's
be.
sitting there. She doesn't talk to you because she wasn't trying to talk to him. She was like, I'm literally just at church praying. You can't leave me alone here. And he starts getting closer. He thinks of stories that would connect to her. Like, I like to knit owls with my grandmother. Like, super strange as a pickup line, but okay. You're
Yeah.
into knitting owls with your grandmother. It was always an owl. And I love that she comes at him with the darkest information and response that you could
Mhm.
have to knitting owls. That was great.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good scene. That's a very good scene. Good shit. Good shit. Yeah, maybe Sarah can get him in the shower. Yeah, poor Smelgin Elgin. Yeah, the Smelgin Elgin's probably never going to go away. I think that's an eternal nickname for Elgin. He will always probably be called Smelgin Elgin. That one stuck. That one stuck, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever you choose. Actually, I want to get off that subject anyways. I'm tired of talking about the murderer. Murderer. Hmm.
As Sarah, she doesn't like talking about
Oh,
Sarah.
oh yeah. Hey, and not everybody likes Sarah, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I like Sarah. I think she's an interesting character. I think when she did what she did for to Elgin at the end of season 3, as harsh as it was, when you look at the reasoning for why she did it, in terms of her trying to save Boyd's soul, sacrificing her own so he wouldn't have to, Sarah does have a lot of good in her. And yes, she's done some questionable things and some maybe even evil things when you think about her kind of killing Toby too, an evil act. She was also manipulated, similar to how Elgin was manipulated in season 3. But yeah, the Sarah issue is always interesting because you always kind of, usually at least, have a kind of split fandom, usually where some people hate Sarah and some people love her. And that's totally cool. Whichever way you fall on, totally fine. Yes, I'm talking about the guy who kidnaps and tortures pregnant women. Makes me rage. I mean, a lot of people had a lot of grief with Elgin at season 3. A lot of
Mhm.
people really didn't mind what Sarah did after what Elgin did to Fatima. So again, I
Mhm.
guess that all just depends on where you land on it. But all the opinions are welcome here. That's for sure. I personally didn't really have a huge problem with Boyd and Sarah torturing Elgin. I get it. Elgin was, just being manipulated himself too at the end of the day, but they were getting to the point where time was running out. There just wasn't enough time left to do it an easy way. So they kind of just had to do what they had to do to save their family, for Boyd to save his family, his stepdaughter and his daughter-in-law, excuse me, and his grandchild. So while it was a little bit, much, it's, you definitely don't want to see someone get tortured. In Boyd's shoes, I might have done the same thing. What about you, PM? If you were in Boyd's shoes, would you have done the same thing? Oh, can't hear you. All right, no worries. Um, Let's see what else we got. I'm happy that Smiley is back. The other monsters were not scary in the slightest. Ooh, really? Interesting. Interesting. Now, I mean, I think Smiley will always be, one of, if not maybe the best monsters. And he was good. I mean, like there was a reason why they threw his face on all of the promotional material. Like Smiley was the main monster that they were pushing. So it's nice to see him back in a way. Like again, I'm not like too sure about how they kind of shoehorned him coming back into the show, which at least it feels like they kind of shoehorned him in. But I don't know. In terms of some of the other monsters, I think some of the other monsters were plenty scary. I mean, the cowboy monster for one was incredibly sinister, incredibly kind of, he had that little dark kind of swagger to him that was very scary. The original nurse monster from season 2, I think, was probably the scariest looking monster overall. Now, of course, she was recast in season 3 for a different actress, but the actress who played the nurse monster in season 2 was incredibly creepy, so freaking creepy looking. Probably the creepiest looking monster out of all of them, in my opinion. But you got Granny Monster and Jasmine and some of these other kind of iconic monsters. So, I mean, while Smiley was kind of the best, I wouldn't say he was the only one that was scary. I think the other monsters had some interesting designs too. She's the type to have a personal problem with every female character on the show. Just wait. Interesting. I hope Smiley gets Sarah. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what Smiley does, if nothing else. Smiley coming back from the dead in the way that he did. What kind of Smiley are we going to get? Are we going to get the same old Smiley that we know and love, or is he going to be a little bit different now? And again, what about the connection between him and Fatima? Will there be some kind of connection that is still established between those two? So yeah, I think Smiley returning is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. Looking forward to seeing that. Okay, go hang out with the milkman since he ain't scary. Yeah, the milkman's another one. The milkman's scary too, right? Like he's super creepy. Again, there's some scary monsters out there, and I think one of the scarier ones, the super, like maybe not scary, but definitely creepy, is the "We'll Make You Stay" one.
We have to go.
You know, Victor, if you keep coming down here, one of these days, we'll make you stay.
Go!
That one always creeps me out for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's plenty of creepy monsters. I don't think Smiley is the only scary one.
No, I think all of them are scary.
Hmm.
Just about everyone. I don't think I would look at any of them and say, like, I would be happy to spend a day with them.
Yeah.
What I do think is like super interesting about the discussion and the chat, which I love the discussion and the chat and every viewpoint, is that From is a great show because it's complex. There is no such thing as good and bad. So you can't just label like Sarah is bad and Elgin is good, or Elgin is bad and Sarah is good. There is no right or wrong. Everybody has a degree of gray and what they're
Mhm.
willing to do, right? And I think that
Yeah.
that's a big part of the show. The show is exploring, when you're a regular person that has had a past and a history, what are you willing to do to save yourself or other people? Because a lot of the time, what they were doing is something that they believe would bring them salvation. So
Mhm.
it's not everybody's all good or all bad. That's,
Mhm.
and in the real world too, it rarely exists that you will meet someone and say they are the best person and have never done anything horrible to anyone. It's
Yeah.
just not reality. It's the complexity of life, and that's why I like From, because the characters are complex. There's
Yeah.
great things in them, and there's also things that are not so great. But no one is all good or all bad. And that's why I find it interesting that these two characters are pitted against each other. They're very similar to each other. they did very bad things that I'm sure that they feel horrible about and they condemn themselves for.
Yeah.
But they did them because they thought that it would bring them salvation.
Yeah.
So for a greater good, the trolley
Mhm.
problem, right?
Yeah.
Which is the writing of From. The writers are just amazing.
It really is incredibly right. Like the characters, the intricate plots that have been woven, the mystery, of course. You can't forget about the sprawling mysteries everywhere. This is one of the better written shows that I've seen in a very long time. It's not often where you get a really like good balanced mix of plot mixed with character development. And I feel like we get a beautiful mix of both, of really good world development, really good world building, where we're establishing the town of Fromville, but we're also branching out and seeing all of these new locations while getting some really good character development from some of the main storylines. From has just come together to be this perfect little melting pot of just about everything I love within a TV show. It really has. And I can't speak higher about it. I can't wait for season 4 to get here. And at this point, I just want to see a freaking trailer. We need a season 4 teaser now, ladies and gentlemen. Please, MGM, if you are hearing this, let us get a season 4 teaser. Your fans are dying and waiting patiently. And again, especially with a long hiatus, like From has a super long hiatus, you would think they would want to get a teaser trailer out as soon as possible, but I guess we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we shall see. But overall, I am very much looking forward to season 4. I think it's going to be a phenomenal season. I think we have tons of different areas and tons of different avenues in terms of what can happen, which way it can go, what's going to happen, who's going to be making it, who's not going to be making it. I think a lot of our characters are definitely not making it out of season 4. And for me, Ellis and Christy are at the very top of that list. I think both of those characters are goners this season, along with many others. They will not be the only ones.
Yeah, and they have been posting the audition tapes for
True.
Alice and Christy, which is something really interesting because they do not do that for everyone else. They
Yep.
did not do that for Victor or any of the other characters. So
Yep.
I tend to believe if you're paying extra attention to celebrating the actor and the great work, as they put it, see Alice's performance in season 1, 2, and 3 of From, they're kind of celebrating the character and the actor in a way that tells you this is goodbye. It's probably going to
Mhm.
be their very last season and they're probably going to die soon. And you want that, right? I mean, we've talked about this, but when you have a show where there's characters that you like and enjoy and you get attached to, but they're never in danger, they always have
Yeah.
that plot armor.
Yeah.
It's not interesting anymore.
Mm-mm.
There is a lot of interest in losing people that are important to the plot. It makes it more interesting. You don't want a show like what was that, the Alien Earth, where
Yeah.
everybody just about made it through. That was infuriating.
Alien. I mean, what a disappointment. And I had such high hopes for Alien Earth. I really did. I thought that was going to be a very interesting show. We looked at some of the trailers, and it's like, okay, there might be something pretty interesting here. And then you kind of just get the rug pulled out from underneath your feet. It's unfortunate. It happens a lot. It happens way too often these days. I don't think it's going to happen with Pluribus, though. I genuinely think Pluribus is going to be the real freaking deal. I think if you are a Severance fan or a From fan, you're going to enjoy Pluribus. Everything that I'm seeing about it, the production, the casting, the cinematography, the creatives behind it, I mean, everything about the show just screams it's going to be a hit. And I think it will be.
Yeah, Pluribus is gonna be the next show. I think after From, it has all of the potential.
Yeah.
And I mean, they tend to advertise things like this, and sometimes it doesn't work because it's not true. But they do say, from the creators of Breaking Bad. And
Yes.
Breaking Bad was amazing. Breaking Bad was
Better Call
amazing. I
Saul too.
remember Better Call Saul. I remember watching that show, and every episode I was just like mesmerized by the writing and the world that they created. And Pluribus
Mhm.
is creating a very interesting world. And that is a great question because we have seen, like people were saying in the chat, we have seen Contagion shows. Just
Mhm.
about every show that dealt with contagion, it was a monster show. But what's interesting about Pluribus is that they went the other way. This is not a virus that will make you unhappy or sick or will hurt you. It's going to fix you. This virus will make you happy, so happy that everything will be okay with your life, which is an interesting way of approaching the contagion genre.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
want to be you want to be attacked by this virus because it will fix everything.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay for you. But
Yeah.
then you're looking at, what does that mean? Is that
Mhm.
necessarily a good thing? And if you couldn't be happy, what do you do? Right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be super fun. And, the idea of everybody being happy, just turning happy all at once. And Vince Gilligan did say that in episode one, the entire world is going to drastically change super fast. And the rest of the series is going to be dealing with the fallout of that, which, of course, like you said, it definitely seems like the happiness virus is very much what is going to be happening on the show. And in the middle of all of it, we have Carol, this incredibly just cynical, um, glass half empty character. Like we've been calling her the female Russ Cole, the woman version of Russ Cole. Carol seems to be, and she is going to be, just in the middle of all of this happiness that just drives her absolutely nuts. She was very miserable before this virus even started. She had a very deep disdain for the world, and I think that's only going to continue to get worse and worse when she starts seeing everybody around her super happy and her being the only one that can still feel. I think this is going to be a very interesting concept. I've never heard of a concept like this for a show ever in my life. And leave it to Vince Gilligan to come up with something super unique like this. And with Rhea Seehorn playing the miserable Carol, I mean, I think this has just got all of the workings, all of the makings to be an incredibly big hit. And yeah, I think From and Severance fans in particular are really going to enjoy it. The mystery aspect alone of the show is incredibly intriguing. And I can't wait. I was on the fence about Pluribus at first, I'll admit it. But once I started taking a closer look at it and all of the little snippets of trailers that they released and did a little bit more research on the show myself, I'm completely all in on Pluribus now. I cannot wait to start reviewing this show.
Hmm. Yeah, and it was a really interesting question that you guys had in the chat as to what would be wrong with being happy. And we see
Mm,
people in the chat saying, like, who struggle with depression, I want to be happy. Like,
yeah.
that is why we medicate ourselves. We want to be happy. And the logo for the show is a yellow little pill with a happy face. So it makes me think that it is a solution or a fix that they have provided the population. What's wrong with being happy is that sometimes you shouldn't be happy. I love Jeremy's video and he goes into it deeper. So definitely watch his video on Pluribus. But what's wrong with being happy is that there are things such as
Mhm.
injustice
Yeah.
and things in life where you shouldn't be happy. Your response shouldn't be contentment or immediate acceptance. In order for you to progress, like we see in the trailer, the government, you need unhappiness so that you could demand more from the government. But if you're happy and the government's making you happy and they're happy, they could do whatever they want. And we see a little snippet of the president himself addressing Carol, which I think is going to be really, it looks super creepy. I mean,
Mm.
to imagine that.
It does. I mean, yeah, the whole scene with the president calling her in her freaking living room and, trying to quote unquote fix her, it very much, puts forth this dystopian like society that is being formed ever since this virus broke out. And Vince Gilligan and Rhea Seehorn have often talked about the show being heavily inspired by both Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Twilight Zone. Two of my favorites, Twilight Zone in particular. I love The Twilight Zone. And the show is going to be dealing with a lot of very interesting things. It's going to be dealing with, psychological elements, the philosophical elements of what it means to have a free and full range of emotions. And yeah, while on the surface it might sound okay to be happy all the time and not have any other emotions, but in actuality, when you actually break that down a little bit deeper, it can turn into an absolute nightmare, a miserable nightmare, because there are so many things that you are missing out on. There are so many things you are losing, like your free will, your ability to protect yourself, your ability to think critically. There's so much stuff that you would lose along the way. And of course, it would definitely make for a much more docile kind of population overall, which of course is much easily controlled, way more easy to control. You need the ability to question things. You need the ability to question your government, to, think critically every now and then. You need the ability to feel anger, to feel sadness. Like, these are all vital emotions that are a part of the human experience. So while it might seem interesting and, fun to only be happy all the time, it would really be absolutely miserable after a little while. It might be fun for like the first day, but then it would get absolutely miserable, and it would turn this world and us as a society into something completely unrecognizable. And again, I go much more in depth on it in my Pluribus video, so definitely check that out if you want to as well. I go very much in depth with all of the kind of downsides that could potentially happen if a virus like this really broke out. So I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be a really good show. I think this is going to be a very, very good show. Should be fun. Pluribus, ladies and gentlemen, coming out on Apple TV on November 7th. And the trailers that they have been releasing have been super quick, little tiny snippets that don't give you a whole lot. But if you go back and watch every single one of them and you start to kind of piece things together, you start to get a little bit of a sense as to what it might be about.
Hi, Carol. Thank you for calling.
Yep.
This must be so bewildering for you. Completely up to you, of course, but you might want to stick close to home for the next few days. If we can help you in any way, please let us know. We can deliver food, medicine, whatever you need. We are here for you. Rest assured, Carol, we will figure out what makes you different.
Figure it out. Why?
So we can fix it. So you can join us. We feel like we're doing all the talking here. Are there any questions you might have for us, Carol?
I guess to start with, what the
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I think this is going to be a really, really fun show. Looks like it's got a pretty good cast. Rhea Seehorn was phenomenal in Better Call Saul. And knowing that Vince Gilligan is writing and creating the show, just like he did Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, I think the show is in very good hands. And Apple TV in particular has been putting out some really good content over the last few years. Their cinematography, their writing, their just overall filmmaking has been second to none in terms of just really good production quality. So I think this is going to be a good one, guys. I think this is going to be a good one. I think if you are a From fan, or if you are a Severance fan in particular, this is probably going to be one that you're going to enjoy. So definitely come and check it out with us when it starts on November 7th. Happiness is a disease. Yes, I mean, the official synopsis for the show is the most miserable person in the world needs to save, the most miserable person on earth needs to save the world from happiness. That is the official synopsis of the show. So we're going to really start to see the downsides and the darker side of something like this really happening, where everyone, the entire population, is just forced to be nothing but super happy all the time and have no other access to any of their wide range of emotions. We're going to see what a nightmare something like that could really become. And thank you so much, Wall Saying Tech, for the 234. Very much appreciate you. Yeah, happiness is a disease. Will Carol be the cure? I am not sure. And yes, if you like Twilight Zone as well, it looks like this is heavily inspired on Twilight Zone. And I even, in my video, cited a few episodes of Twilight Zone that have very similar themes and tropes that we're going to be seeing in Pluribus. So if you want to get a general idea of some of the kind of vibes and themes we're going to see in Pluribus, definitely check out my Pluribus video as well, and check out the Twilight Zone episodes that I recommend. I recommend 3 different Twilight Zone episodes, all of which are going to have very similar tones and themes to Pluribus. So definitely check those out. I can't wait. I am super excited for Pluribus, ladies and gents. I'm still fingers crossed. Hopefully we get some kind of teaser trailer for From over the next few weeks or months, the latest. Time is really clicking down. If they are genuinely looking for a early 2026 release, which could be anywhere from January, February, or maybe even March, then that means they really need to start promoting this show as soon as possible. So hopefully, we can get some kind of teaser trailer for From over the next few weeks. And of course, if we do, we will be right here breaking down every single frame of it. But in the meantime, we have Pluribus starting on November 7th. Looks like it's going to be great. And of course, we also have It, Welcome to Derry on October 26th as well. Another show that we are definitely going to be covering here on the channel. I am a huge fan of Pennywise, one of the most interesting and crazy entities that has ever been written. And it looks like It, Welcome to Derry is going to be heavily focused on Pennywise himself. And we might even be getting some Pennywise origins in this series as well. And of course, Bill Skarsgård is returning to play the Cosmic Clown himself. So we got 2 really good shows that are coming up this month. It, Welcome to Derry, and then Pluribus in November. I am ready. I cannot wait. Bring it on. And of course, I will also be doing a Song of Ice and Fire content now that the A Night of the Seven Kingdoms trailer is officially released, which that will be starting in January. So we got a lot of stuff over the next few months and into January. We got a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and the fact that From is around the corner, which
Right.
I am so proud of you, Fromily, and of course, Jeremy doing all of the work. But we have been able to withstand, the Dark Knight, where it's just around the corner. The year's going to go by so quickly, and we made it through the waiting period. Anytime now we're going to see a new trailer, and then From is going to start, and these 2 shows look amazing, along with the Night of the Seven Kingdoms one that looks super fun too. So I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a good holiday season.
Yeah, me too. I think we got some really, really fun shows coming down the pipeline, both this month and at the beginning of next year as well. And of course, the sequel to 28 Years Later will be coming out in January as well. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. So it's going to be jam-packed. From January on, all of next year is going to be jam-packed with tons of stuff coming out. And we will be right here covering each and every frame of it. And Stranger Things, I'm so excited. Yeah, I forgot about Stranger Things as well. Stranger Things will be dropping in November. And while unfortunately Stranger Things doesn't release its episodes weekly, so I won't be doing weekly breakdowns on that. And that's one of the reasons why I've stayed away from like Netflix and other shows that drop all of their episodes at once, just because it's not released weekly, so you can't do a weekly breakdown on it like I'm accustomed to doing for the shows that we cover here on the channel. But for Stranger Things, when it comes out, I'll probably watch the whole season and maybe just do one video on the entire season, breaking it down. We'll see. It's very tricky covering shows that drop all their episodes at once. But yeah, looking forward to seeing Stranger Things and seeing how that ends as well. A lot of good stuff. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. But that is going to do it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all of you again for hanging out with us on this fine Sunday evening. Again, every Sunday we will be right here on the channel diving into all things From while we wait for season 4 and while we wait for some kind of teaser trailer, which hopefully will be coming soon. And we are going to keep the From train going full steam ahead all the way until season 4 gets here. But honestly, once they drop a teaser trailer, it's going to be off and running. There's going to be From content coming up the wazoo as soon as that trailer drops. So please, MGM, give us some kind of teaser trailer for From season 4 and let us start promoting this show for you like we always do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We got some really good stuff to look forward to at the beginning of the year next year. But even now, we got some really interesting ones like Pluribus and, of course, Welcome to Derry. And we shall see. We shall see how they all shake out. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you for hanging out with us this evening. Again, we'll be back every Sunday night right here on the channel for the Fromville Hour, usually around 10 p.m. Eastern. And of course, also be on the lookout for my next video, which is another breakdown on the recent A Night of the Seven Kingdoms trailer. I will be having that up on the channel probably tomorrow sometime. And if you guys have not already checked out my Pluribus video, definitely check that out. That is the most recent video on the channel, and that will give you a much better insight as to what to expect for this upcoming Pluribus TV show. And I think you guys will like it. Looks like it's going to be a really good one. But until next time, stay safe out there, ladies and gents. Keep those tinfoil hats on, folks. And again, another huge thank you to each and every one of you for supporting the channel. And a huge thank you to those top 5 who made the top 5 list this week. We'll be doing a top 5 list either every week or every month showing the top 5 contributors. So very much a big thank you to each and every one of you. And we will see you all on the next one. Take it easy, folks. Take it easy, folks.
Aunt Cooey.